Okay, so this morning I want to go ahead and do a quick review with you on inequality. Okay, the reason why is because I want you to understand something. In the past few months, we have learned to make an equation. An equation has what in it, by the way? I know it always has variable, but what else does it have to be called an equation? An equal sign. So and the reason why we call this an inequality is because we will never, or at least for this particular lesson, we won't see an equal sign anymore. Instead, we'll see one of these four signs. Okay? So I'm just going to go ahead and group them. You're going to be either seeing these or these, right? And I said very carefully last time, I said this, that it doesn't matter which position it's in, you cannot tell me that it's greater than or less than until you place your numbers in it. Is that true? Your value, basically. And the way that we remember is that the mouth, or at least the opening part of your sign, a symbol, always facing the bigger value. But by convention, we always read it from left to right, just how we read our books, right? We read it from left to right, so therefore, when we write this, we write our inequality, we also read it from left to right. So that's one the first rule, right? Second rule is, make sure that if your inequality has a variable in it, you start with the variable. Doesn't matter if the variable is on the left or on the right, but it is a good rule of thumb to rewrite your variable so that it starts on the left as well, so you read it naturally from left to right. So for example, if I write something like this, what does that mean? How do you read this? Of course, if you say from left to right, you say 5, what? Greater than. So instead of saying t, can you say this? Oh yeah, 5 is greater than a number that I want. T represents a number, right? Or many numbers. Do we have many numbers that's actually less than t? Yes or no? Yes. Okay, and we know we have a lot. Can you tell me where to locate those numbers that's actually less than t, less than 5? Where would you look for those? Behind, like on the left-hand side or on the right-hand side?
Like, the number lines.
I know, okay, number line you're talking about. Okay, let's bring it up. Here's the number line. What should we do now? Okay, so let's whenever you put a number line up, locate the neutral point. What is the neutral point? 0. 0 means not negative, not positive, it's neutral. Put a 0 right there. And then now what? Okay, go to 5. Let's say 5 is right here. So where do you expect to see all the numbers that's less than 5? To the left. So you basically can say, okay, well, all the numbers going to this side will be my possible solution. Is that true? Because isn't negative 5 less than 5? Isn't negative 1,000 less than 5? But then there's another thing. Can 5 be included here? And that's what you need to ask. Can 5 be less than 5? So always ask that question. If your answer is no, make an open circle, say, do not That's what it means. An open circle simply means don't include it. Because if I include it, it will make it false, right? You want to include something that's true. So is that clear so far? Okay. Now, what if I change it and have this extra symbol? Well, let me just tell you that that little symbol right there is actually made up from the equal sign. We just shorten it so that this is like a shorthand form kind of deal. So now, what does it mean when you have this extra little symbol underneath the usual symbol that we see? Yes.
Or equal to.
Or equal. So it means or equal. So now the question is, can 5 be less than 5 or equal to 5? Yes or no?
Yes.
If your answer is yes, then what it means is, please now, I want you to go ahead and include it. So include means you shade it in, right? And of course, if I don't include it, I leave it open. You understand the difference? So every time now that you see symbols that doesn't have the bar below, you have an open circle to represent that point. If you have the bar below, don't forget, you have to have a solid or filled circle. Okay? So it's basic technique. Another thing I need to mention is this. Remember I told you that the first rule is you read it from left to right and everything? But the second rule also is that, in general, it's better off if you want to have the variable on the left-hand side. So when you read it, you read with the variable first. How do you rewrite this? What do you think? Just say it out loud with me right now. Start with the variable. T is what? So how do you write that now? If I say, hey, can you write t is less than 5 or less than or equal to 5? How do you write that? T.
And then this way.
The mouth is facing where? Okay, good. See it? That's how you rewrite it. And now, the good thing about rewriting your inequality with the variable in front is that I want you to see something. You see the direction of the symbol is always facing with your answer. I guarantee that. Let me show you one more, just to prove it to you, that it actually will work. If I say this, which is a simple case. Okay, read it to me right now.
N is greater than -7.
Okay, n is greater than -7, right? So that means I expect all my answers to be where?
To the right.
To the right, very good. And do you notice that the arrow is pointing to the right
Yeah.
to begin with? So there it is. All that you need to remember is the variable has to be in front for it to work. If the variable's not in front, don't even try. You have to rewrite it first. Okay? Even if it's not in front, you can always start with the variables and actually say it to yourself to see if it makes sense. So look, I'm going to have my number line right here. Here's my neutral point. Where's -7 going to be located? Left. So I just pick a random location, put a -7 right there. And then now I said, okay, since I want my number, so you notice I did not say n. I use an actual word to represent it. I say, oh, I want my number, whatever my answer is going to be, it has to be greater than -7. So at least when you say something like that, you get a sense of what kind of numbers is bigger than 7, -7. 0, 1, 2, 3, a whole bunch of them, right? So you know all those numbers are actually on the right-hand side. So all you have to do is draw a line going that way, which match up to our symbol. And then you tell me right here, can -7 be greater than -7? Yes or no? No. So in that case, do we include or do not include? And there it is. Do not include. Does it make sense? Okay. And then, okay, no question on this, right? We're good with graphing. We're good with recognizing the inequalities, right? And when it comes to a complex inequality, meaning you have to solve for a variable, it's the same step, really. I just want you to be aware of that. And so it comes down to this point. I want to bring this up and show you. Imagine I have something like this. This is a 7, by the way.
Why is it so tiny?
Okay, so I have this inequality. It's not completely solved yet. Why? Because, what's the reason for it? The variable is no what? Variable is what? It's what? I know it's not defined, but so how do we actually solve for this? Yes? Huh? What is it that we want at the end? The end scenario of this, yes? Yeah, just the variable by itself, right? Just like our equation, we want the variable by itself. And we actually use the same technique as before, like we solved an equation. So how do we solve for n then? How do we solve for n? See, same step, right? I want you to see that. We're doing the same thing again. This is a good time for us to review our equation solving ability. Now it applies to an inequality as well. So think about this. What do we need to do first? Subtract the 7, okay. So subtract the 7. That will give us 2n less than or equal to -1, okay. That's good, right? And then now what? Divide by what?
2.
By 2. So is this something that we can do at this point? Okay, so then now we say, oh, n, our number, is what? Less than or equal to, wait, same sign. What, here? Less than or equal to what? -1/2, right? So then I ask, how do we graph this? What do you expect your answers to look like when you look for the actual answer? Where do you think it's going to be located? To the left-hand side or to the right-hand side? To the left, look. The variable's in front and the arrow's pointing to the left. So you know you expect to see all the answers to the left. But even if you don't see it like that, just read it to yourself. The answers that I want has to be less than or equal to -1/2, right? Now you determine, do we include the -1/2 or do we doesn't include it? We include it, very good. So here's a 0, here's a -1/2, right? Since we included, we put a solid circle right there and our arrow's pointing to the left. Done, that's it. Any questions? We good? Or we're like, I don't know what we're doing. What you doing, Mr. Wayne? Yeah, that's it. Right here. This is how we solve for an inequality. Make sure the variable's by itself, and make sure you also know how to graph. Put it on a number line if I ask you to. Is that straightforward enough? Okay, so let me just put you to this challenge right here to see if you'd actually get this for real. Watch this, very simple one. How do we solve this one? Come on, what do we do? Okay, divided by -2. And equal? There's no equal anymore, right? Okay, okay. Okay, watch what happened, okay? Watch what happened. This is not a magic trick or anything, but just watch closely. I'm going to say my solution is going to be a number that's bigger than -3. Can you give me a number that's bigger than -3? -2, -1, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, infinity, right? So let's assume this. Okay, don't say anything yet. I know some of you know what I'm doing, but we'll see. Here's my neutral number. Here is -3, right? Based on this inequality, do I include or not include? Not include. So I put an open circle right there on top of -3. And based on this, since my number is bigger than -3, it has to point where? Left or right? Right, okay, fine. So technically speaking, that any number in this area should be my answer, right?
Yeah.
So I'm going to pick 10. Fair enough? Okay, watch what happened. If I pick 10 and plug it right back into n and multiply by -2, I will get -20. But watch what happened. Is -20 actually bigger than 6?
No.
No. What is going on? How could we get it wrong? Right? How could it be like that? Well, as it turned out, here's the thing though. Let me ask you this question. If I have a 6, 6 is clearly bigger than a 5, right? Oh, actually, you know what? Let's make it like this. Is 6 clearly bigger than 4? No question asked. But watch what happened, okay? When I divide both by -1, all of a sudden, a 6 divided by -1 is a -6. A 4 divided by -1 is a -4. This is no longer true. Is that true?
True.
Because when you turn them both to negative, the smaller the negative, the bigger it is. So what does it mean in terms of when you divide by negative? Or in other words, if I do the same thing with multiplications, will that be true as well? Will be false as well, right? You see it? So what does it mean when we divide or multiply by negative value? What do we need to do? Yes? We want to switch a sign to make it true again. You see it? Because when we divide by negative, we actually flip the entire problem around. So the smaller the number now is the bigger number. So to make this work, every time you get to the ending step, where a variable is isolated and you are happening to divide or multiply by a negative value, you need to flip the sign. And that's the reason why. It's just something that you have to do to make it true again. Right? So because we flip the sign, this is not relevant anymore, and our solution is going to be to the left-hand side of it. So as you can see, if I pick any number on the left-hand side, let's say -7, right? If I take -7 and plug it back into this problem again, it becomes +14. A negative times a negative is positive. And is it a positive bigger than 6? There it is. That's the reason why. So I really want you to understand this part of the inequality. This is actually the tricky part too, because most likely you forget that, hey, whenever I divide and multiply by a negative value to get to my final step, I need to switch the sign. Okay? Any questions so far? We're all clear? Okay. All right. So it comes down to this then.